coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Woo! In this offseason, the hell that's coming for us is the NIL and the transfer portal. As you can see in the title here, that's one of the topics we're going to be talking about, as well as the coaching carousel that's bringing back a lot of old faces to coaching, whether it be someone in college coaching that once upon a time was a huge success story at said place like West Virginia and Rich Rodriguez, or one of the supposed best pro football coaches of all time in Bill Belichick, and to me was what's somewhat of an odd hire. And then Central Florida, keeping with the theme, brings back Scott Frost, who had a lot of success at Central Florida. As you know, they won a Mickey Mouse national championship while he was there. Because, they tried to claim the national championship that Alabama won on the field. So I'm just saying, it's like the new is the old. The old is the new. Everybody's bringing back the old to try to get back some of that glory that they got, especially West Virginia and Central Florida. North Carolina's trying it with somebody that was a champion multiple times in the NFL and Bill Belichick. So, might bring a few people in here tonight and get their takes on some of this stuff, especially the college football NIL is welfare to me. And I'm not trying to insult people that are on welfare, because we've all been in bad situations once or twice or 752 times in our life and may have had to take charity at some point. But I'm just saying, on the average, most people that are on welfare that are not disabled get on welfare and they never get off of welfare, and they end up on their 70. I'd say 70% of people that go on welfare that are not disabled never get off of welfare because it makes them lazy. And I think that's exactly what's happened with the NIL. And the reason why I thought about it was because Oklahoma is a good example. Oklahoma's entire wide receiver core just basically set out the year. They had little minor injuries, some of them. Some of them had a little more serious injuries, but they didn't try to recover and come back. A lot of people try to blame it on the strength and conditioning there at Oklahoma, but I don't think that's what it was. I think it's just like any other college out here. And I was just using Oklahoma as an example. You got these players, they just get a little nicked up. And especially if they only got one more year before they can declare for the NFL, they're just going to sit out that season. They're just going to sit on their ass, just like a welfare recipient would do. Most of them. Not all of them. Let me add a disclaimer to that. Not all people on welfare are bad people. But some of them that are on welfare are bad people that never get off of it. And these NIL recipients are just players looking for handouts. They haven't proven a damn thing, most of them. They come from high school, never have played a down, never have made a tackle, never have made a pass. Hell, they ain't even been called for a penalty yet. And they're being paid bukus and bukus of dollars. Got a donation already. Snell's World with a $5 donation. Milrose playing in a bowl game. Milroe playing in the bowl game has that many people leaving. Should let Ty get his first start. I agree with that, Snell's World. There's really no real reason for Jalen Milroe to play in this bowl game unless there's only one reason why Jalen Milroe should play in this bowl game, Snell. And that's if he's coming back next year. And from what I understand now, he's him-hawing back and forth. And I think now he's sort of leaning to not coming back, which would be a good thing for him and Alabama. If he does come back, he needs to transfer. Nothing against Jalen. Well, I'm sort of lying. I have a lot against Jalen. But he just don't fit the system here at Alabama with the current coach we have, Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer's system is not set up for that type of quarterback. The type of quarterback that Jalen Milroe is a read option type quarterback. And I just don't think that's the kind of offense that Kalen DeBoer is trying to implement out here at Alabama. So I think it would be in Jalen Milroe's best interest if he does come back to college that he transferred somewhere else. I don't think he's going to make it in the NFL anyway. I'm not going to tell him that, but because then he might come back here. But I hope he goes. And man, I don't know, man. There's a lot of people out there that get mad when you talk about that. But I'm going to go ahead and bring Killer Breeze in the house. Before I do that, though, I'm going to get a few of these comments. Rye Guy 1218's in the house. This will be the least surprising thing ever, but I think Con Time is going to Tallahassee. You think so? You think they're going to fire that guy after one bad season? Really? He just hired an offensive coordinator in Gus Malzahn. Right, guys. So I think he's going to get one more year. Now, a couple of years down the road, you could be right. Next year, I would say Florida State probably has to finish next year at least 8-4 or 9-3 for that guy to keep his job. I'd be leaning more than 9-3. But, yeah. Bill Belichick is going to be a terrible coach for college football. I agree with that, but I think there's something amiss there. There's something going on with that, man, because you don't fire a 72-year-old coach and bring in a 73-year-old coach when they're that damn old. There's something afoot, and I think I know what it is. Bill Belichick's bringing his son in, supposedly, as the defensive coordinator. And what I think Bill has done is he has set his son up to get a head coaching job. Bill's going to come in for a couple of years, make it a nice little transition for his son, Steve. And then Steve Belichick's going to take over in about 2 or 3 years. I think it's like the reverse of a coach in waiting. He's a coach, but he's waiting to bring someone else in, his son. His son is going to be a coach in waiting. That's what I think is going on here. Because he's just way too old to me, man. He's, 73 years old, and he got a 5-year contract. I don't know if he's going to make those 5 years or not. Let's go ahead and bring in Killer Breeze and get his thoughts on this college football NIL is welfare. I started not to make it the title because I'm going to get called certain names and people are going to try to twist shit and try to probably play some kind of race card or something that has nothing to do with race, I promise you. How's it going, man?
What's happening, brother?
All right, brother. I just decided to come up in here and do a little live stream tonight. Probably ain't got much. I probably ain't got a lot of time tonight. I got to go pick my wife up later. Right. But, yeah, it's something that you said you wanted to talk about, so I'm going to talk about it. Also, Rich Rodriguez is back at West Virginia, and Bill Belichick is at North Carolina, and Scott Frost is at Central Florida. That's the things I've been talking about. Seems like the old is the new. People are bringing back old coaches to bring back their flames or whatever. But I'll go ahead and let you give a spiel on what you want to talk about.
Yeah, it's interesting. The old coach is coming back. Out of all of them, the Bill Belichick, I felt the same way you did until I listened to Gabe and Teddy talking, and Teddy brought up the fact I'd heard something about Bill Belichick presenting a 400-page outline basically of what he would do with the program if he became the head coach, and how he would basically bring an NFL model to North Carolina, top to bottom, coaching, scouting, salary cap, NIL, all of that. And of course his son too, which I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a succession plan in place, and that ultimately might have been his primary goal. But I also think he sees an opportunity. He sees the college game looking like the NFL, and he has it's kind of fascinating, man, if you think about it. That might be the exact word that Teddy used about it, but I tend to agree. But he sees the college game very much mirroring the NFL or coming close to that. And he thinks he can bring an NFL approach to the college football game and maybe get a jump start on a lot of these programs that are going to be kind of learning about it as they try to either or bring people in with NFL experience. So I don't know about Scott Frost in Central Florida. Rich Rod in West Virginia, we've talked about that before. I like that. But I am kind of interested now. I'm very curious to see the Belichick thing in North Carolina. You know, obviously North Carolina is a great brand. They'll always be a basketball school. But who's to say they can't build a good football program, man? They've sniffed it a couple of times. So I don't know why they wouldn't be able to do the same thing, or get some more success, sustained success at North Carolina.
Well, I just think it's just ironic how all these teams are bringing back old coaches now. And he never coached at North Carolina, but it's like these old coaches that had success at certain places, especially with Central Florida and West Virginia. They're trying to recapture that old flame, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it don't. Man, we've seen it work in a few instances, and then sometimes we see they fall on their face, like Bill Walsh. You don't know if you remember Bill Walsh.
I remember.
He was a head
coach
at
Stanford.
Yeah, he was a head coach at Stanford, went to the 49ers, won a Super Bowl, and then come back to Stanford. Wasn't quite a success. But then you have people like Bill Snyder who leave and then come back, and he's still having maybe not as much success, but still having success. So I think I don't know, man. I think it's just according to the coach and the situation. But I'm going to bring Kuz in here real quick. But before I bring him in here, before I go to Kuz, you want to go ahead and touch on the whole college football NIL's welfare?
Well, I mean, it's just become painfully obvious to me that particularly this year with Oklahoma, and now seeing kind of getting the vibe from the transfer portal, it just seems it's hard to not question some of these guys that sat out with injuries that you were scratching your head, soft tissue injuries that you were kind of scratching your head going, God damn, basically the whole year. Deion Burks was like our prize pickup in the transfer portal. He was supposed to be great. He had over 200 yards at the spring game, had a couple of touchdowns in the very first game against a weak opponent, and then he got hurt right when we entered into the SEC, and he just never came back. He was on the side within a couple of weeks. Before every game, he would be on the sideline, fully dressed, warming up, running routes, and yet he wasn't in the game. And he got a ton of NIL money. And, there's the way that NIL is set up now, there's just no tie of the compensation to the performance. It's all on the hope or the potential of the player and not tied to the performance. Now, you're never going to get, it's not like all contracts are performance based. That's not what I'm trying to say, but damn, man, to be able to just sit on the sideline. Deion Burks basically never really played any significant downs in the SEC.
Well, it just reminds me of 70% of people that go on welfare. Now, not all of them are like that. There's people that's disabled that can't help it. But it's like people that go on welfare never get off welfare in a way. It's just like they're just sitting on the sidelines for a whole year, man. Well, sitting on their asses drawing a paycheck, man. And
a whole year.
They can't.
Some of them do it for their whole life.
Yeah. That's a fact.
Exactly.
But they just, it's hard to, you just got to kind of question it now because Deion Burks, Nick Anderson too. Obviously Nick Anderson had a severe injury, but Andrel Anthony, he blew his knee out in the Texas game last year. He never came back this year. He's another one like Deion Burks. He came back for like a couple of snaps in one game, and then he went right back out and never came back.
Yeah. If they're going to the NFL, then they could just set out the whole season.
Well, that's my point. What's their motivation to come back when they're sitting from the sideline watching an OU offense that sucks, and they're probably thinking to themselves, well, I'm still getting paid. Why should I go out on the field with this team and risk injuring my body and my professional career for an offense that is clearly not. I'm not going to make the difference. That had to be some of that going on. There just had to be.
Let me bring Kuz in here real quick. I'm going to let you go ahead and just freelance it here, Kuz. You want to talk about the new college football coaches, especially yours, I mean, I know you got an early Christmas present. Me and you both been talking about Rich Rod coming back since I've known him. Even before Neil Brown was hired, I've been a big proponent of bringing Rich Rod back. And looks like, you got a wish. And, of course, you've heard what we've been talking about with NIL. So I'll just let you freelance this thing and give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about Scott Frost to really I know he had the undefeated season and won the national championship that year. At least it says so on their press box anyway. I don't know if that counts.
Mickey Mouse.
But in all honesty, hell, it's hard to go undefeated in anything, right? So you got to give them props. They had a great season, and it was under his watch. So, I understand why they bring him back, and it's hard for me to criticize that when we did something similar. Difference being though, our guy is a West Virginia alum, is from the state, and I mean it's like he is West Virginia. You know what I mean? He grew up in West Virginia. His family's always lived in West Virginia. He played at West Virginia. He's coached at West Virginia. I mean, it's just but no, I'm Rich Rod's introductory press conference was today, and of course they started off. The Pat McAfee show was in town, set up in the Coliseum. They had that there live, and then went right into the press conference. He hit it absolutely out of the park. He said he regretted leaving. He said he regretted leaving. He said that multiple times today, and I think that helped win some of the fans over who didn't want him to come back a little bit.
Appalachia Twin says you act like a kid in a candy store, man.
That's right. Yeah, I just got through doing my own show, and he was over there, so he knows how happy I am. But yeah, he was pretty humble today. You know what I mean? He's confident because he says they can win, but you can tell that he regrets making that decision 17 years ago, and you can tell that he teared up a couple times, was getting emotional. He's home. He's back home, man. And I think you can tell he's there for a purpose. He said he wants to finish it right because he didn't finish it right the last time. It's personal to him. Obviously he's going to make a good paycheck, but it's more personal this time. He has a mission. He said, listen, and I don't want to, Neil Brown is a great man. He's a great dad, a great husband. He's done everything the right way. He's a class act, but he just could not win football games at West Virginia for whatever reason. And he one of the complaints we have of him he'd make comments like, well, it's not like we're 0-10, we're 5-5, just crap like that, like everything's hunky dory, made the comment about, well, did you have fun at the tailgates? You don't say that. When you're on the hot seat and your team's losing games, you don't say that kind of stuff.
No.
He was constantly complaining about the schedule being too hard, constantly complaining about not having enough NIL money, just always making an excuse. Rich Rodriguez comes out today and says, and O'Neal even made a comment the other day. He did an interview after he was fired with a West Virginia media person and said, he said, going into the season, I figured we were probably a 7 or 8 win team. That was what he said, that out loud.
Well, even if you think it's part of his stat, man, it's like you were saying in your live stream over there. Rich Rod is coming here and said, "Look, we're here to try to win the whole time.
And he says
championships. We may not, but we got that mindset.
Exactly.
That's what we want.
Exactly.
Thank you. That's where I was preaching the whole time. I'm like, man, West Virginia is the 15th highest winning team in the history of college football, the highest winning percentage of any university without a national championship, man. People need to stop accepting 7-5 and 8-4 at West Virginia.
Yeah. And with whether you like Pat McAfee or you don't, he's the best ambassador for West Virginia University out there right now. And I don't watch his show every day. His style of show is just not my cup of tea. But man, the notoriety he's bringing to West Virginia, he's probably going to have Coach Rod on his show every week now. He
resonates with young players too.
He does, man.
Yeah.
The type of people that Rich Rod needs to recruit. Pat has now become, he's very wealthy now. He's become one of the money people at West Virginia. We have several other major donors that are even much bigger than him that are opening up their pockets at least reportedly, they're going to open up their pockets for Coach Rod and give him the resources he needs. If West Virginia, that's the one thing West Virginia has struggled to overcome is they've never had the resources to compete at a high level. They've always had to do more with less, which Rich Rod's good at. He's great at getting guys. He's great at taking 3-star players and turning them into 4- and 5-star players by the time they leave. Well, in this era,
the difference now is that y'all have a lot more influential people behind y'all,
right?
Like Pat McAfee and even Nick Saban, who, when Nick Saban took over to Alabama, nobody knew he was going to be a legend.
Right.
And now he's a legend, and now stuff that he says sort of helps, and the fact that he's talking about he might even donate to the cause as well because that's his home state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean and he supported. He vouched for Rich Rod to come back. He told Ren Baker, if there's anybody that can, you got to have a special type of coach to win here, and Rich Rod is the guy that can do that. And talked about his offensive innovation. I mean, heck, he even talked about one time when Rich Rod used to visit Tuscaloosa in off season. Because these coaches go visit each other and stuff and talk to each other and get advice and all that. Nick Saban has asked Rich Rod stuff, right, about offense. I mean, I'm thinking, my God, you got the GOAT sitting here asking him questions. That's how offensively sound he is. He's so innovative. I mean, heck, he basically invented the zone spread offense.
Not trying to change the subject here on you too harshly, but what do you think about what me and Killer was talking about earlier about players getting NIL money and then just setting out the rest of the year and claiming their injury's worse than what it really is, so they don't have to play?
That's a tough one because how do you prove? I mean, the example you're talking about, did the team doctor say he could play and he just chose not to?
I don't know. Killer Breeze, was he cleared to play? Was some of them wide receivers cleared to play?
There were, well, that's my point. I don't know whether they were cleared to play or not, but what I can tell you is they were fully dressed out, running routes, and they looked fine. And their injuries were soft tissue injuries. And I mean, man, again, I have absolutely zero evidence of any of this. My point is just that if these kids are making a lot of money, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me that the adults that are in their ear are saying, "Hey, don't be playing the game. If you don't have a chance to win and all you can do is hurt yourself, you're still going to get paid. So don't risk it." There had to be some of that going on. I mean, there just had to be.
Yeah, I'm sure it happens. I'm sure it happens in a lot of programs. I don't know how you stop it because the NCAA rules don't allow pay for play.
Yeah, you
right.
Can't
supposedly,
supposedly.
Not. I mean, obviously we know people are doing it, but you can't do it out in the open, and you can't tie a kid's money to whether he plays or not, right? And because if you do, he's probably going to sue you or take you to court, whatever. I don't know, man. With this revenue sharing that's getting ready to start, hopefully next year, I'll be interested to see how they manage things like that. Like if a kid's getting money through the university now, right, as part of the revenue sharing, does he lose that if he doesn't play? I don't know. It's going to be hard though to do that because if he's legitimate, how do you know if a kid's really hurt or not without a doctor?
Well, that's. I mean, I just think it's going to get to the point where there's going to have to be. They're just going to have contracts, man.
Yes, that's that's where my mind was going too.
Built-in incentives for achieving certain stats and certain levels of play on the field. You get perks and bonuses, just like the NFL, right?
I mean, again, I told Jesse this the other day. I was listening to some OU insider stuff, and I was. And they were talking about Oklahoma's plan and what they plan on doing with they're also bringing an NFL style model to their whole program that, I'm sure there's several that are doing that now. And I just started getting bummed out because I just started realizing that like the what I love about college football is pretty much already gone.
Oh, it's gone, brother.
There's no allegiance to the schools anymore, man. All the cheerleaders and the band and all that, that's just window dressing for for a minor league professional team. You know what I mean? And it just bums me out because now, even if you have a program that ends up figuring out the model first, or does it better, or has a little more resources, it's just not going to be the same. I mean, so I just don't, you know, I just hate where it's already gone, and the only answer to it is to make it even more like professional football, and that just bums me out.
Yeah, you're right.
Got a $9.99 donation from Ramon. Says, I love the channel, fellas. I'm a UM fan. I'm assuming that's Miami. Looks like the old dug up 1980s money can't buy you into the playoffs, if you know what I mean. Guess that's a shot at my team. Also, I like Oklahoma in the SEC. Fan of that school. They'll be good soon. Appreciate the donation, brother. And if y'all want to get your comment read out, there's a little money dollar sign at the bottom. Click on that, write your comment out, then hit send. It'll push you to the top. It'll highlight it, and we'll read your comment out above the others. Also, jump out, smash the like button. And as Kuz said on his live stream earlier that I didn't think of, if you're watching this from X after the show, please jump back on, subscribe to the channel, and hit the like button.
By the way, before we move forward, I would just like to point out the intelligence of this man's comment. He knows Oklahoma is going to be good soon. This guy's smart. This guy gets it.
I heard they're going to have to rejoin the Big 12. That's what I heard.
Hey, oh man, don't take a shot at the conference now. Hey, Killer Breeze, man. I can't stay on here but another minute. I got to roll. But I have a question. Can is Venables on the hot seat?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I figured he was.
He's got. It's all. If this Ben Arbuckle hire doesn't work out, he's done. I mean, he's really. Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that hire? Do you like the hire?
Well, it's not the route I would have gone. When they first made the announcement, I made a comment on a live stream fairly early on that the only way this hire makes sense is if he wants to retain some of his staff, and it would seem to be that a 29-year-old, even if he's got a meteoric rise or not, a 29-year-old is not really going to have necessarily the cachet to come in and start, he's just going to be happy to get the job. So I didn't think Venables was planning on retaining all of his staff. That was surprising to me, but so I understand now why. I think it's a super high risk and potentially super high reward. The guy does have, there are a lot of things you can point to and go, man, that looks like a good sign.
Yeah.
But you have to be honest about the fact that 8 years ago, he wasn't even in the sport he wasn't even coaching. Man, he hasn't been an offensive coordinator for that long.
Right.
So I don't know, man. But make no mistake about it. Venables rolled the dice here. He obviously had an idea, and Arbuckle fit the plan. And it's either going to work out next year, and if it or it's not. And if it doesn't work out next year, I don't think he's going to be around in 2026.
Yeah.
Before you get off here, Chris, I'd like to get your thoughts on the whole Bill Belichick thing that we talked about. I think there's some kind of ulterior motive to that hire.
I'm glad you brought that. I actually wanted to talk about that anyway. It's an interesting topic. I got mixed feelings on it. I mean, obviously, if my team had a chance to hire Bill Belichick, I'd love to hire. I mean, how can you not want it to happen, right? Because if he walks into a kid's living room or a Zoom meeting, however he decides to recruit, and he holds up both hands with covered in bling with Super Bowl rings, I mean, that's going to carry some weight. But did you see his deal that he had?
I didn't. Give it to us.
It's $10 million a year for 5 years. But after a year, he can leave with $1 million buyout.
That's pretty sweet, right?
He can walk. If an NFL job opens, he can just walk away, basically. And
it's only $1 million buyout on both ends.
I don't know about the other end, and my numbers may be slightly off here, but I just remember the buyout being really low for him to leave. There's an out clause in it basically for him.
That's like a nickel and dime buyout there, man, compared to what some of these other teams had to do, like Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Oh, the USC Skittle Shitters are stuck with Lincoln Riley because they got an $88 million buyout.
Yeah. So like you said about Arbuckle, Skiller Breeze, it's a very high risk, high reward deal here.
Oh yeah.
If this doesn't work for them, they're just. I mean, now if he's there a year and leaves, what are they out $10 million? I get it. But man. But if it does work, they might win a national championship.
You
know what
think
I mean?
he's bringing his son in to groom him to take over? Do you think that's what?
I think that's part of it. I do think it's part of it. Yeah, and I don't know if it's true, but there's a rumor out there that was one of his demands that he made.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. He probably told him, "Look, I'll come in here and give y'all this great publicity for your program, and then my son can take over, and he's got the Belichick name."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that could be part of it. I don't know.
It'll be interesting, man, because he's trying to. Again, he's got a very detailed plan. His goal, I think he's come out and said that he plans to make this an NFL kind of a stepping stone to the NFL. And man, they're a Jumpman Nike logo brand.
Yep.
They have potential, man. North Carolina is a sleeping giant potentially.
Absolutely.
Football,
that's why the SEC and Big Ten want them in their conference.
Yeah.
Or at least used to.
Yeah.
But it could work out great for them, or it could blow up in their face. But I mean, you can say that about any hire, though, if you want to be technical. I mean, this Rich Rod thing could blow up in West Virginia's face if he doesn't win.
How many of the West Virginia contingent were not wanting him back? I was surprised to even hear you say that some of the people didn't want him back.
Oh yeah, I don't know how familiar you are with the way he left.
Oh no, I know it wasn't good. I know there was, but I just figured. I don't know. I thought all of that had kind of been.
No, there are people. There are people. Oh, there are people who saying they won't even cheer for the team anymore because of it. That's how bad they hate it.
Oh really? Oh yes. Wow.
Because they felt like he's a traitor.
Well, didn't you tell me that? And I always thought Don Nalen was the winningest West Virginia coach, but didn't you tell me that Rich Rod actually had a better winning percentage than Don?
Better winning percentage, yes. Neyland has more wins, but he was there for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying
Rich Rod was only there for 6.
Rich Rod had a better winning percentage.
Correct.
I did not know that.
Yes, he did. He's got the highest winning percentage of any coach in history of our program. We have. It's either 6 or 9. I can't remember the number. 10 win seasons in our history. He has 3 in 6 years, or so. I'm sorry, 7 years. I think. See, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. He had 3 10 win seasons at West Virginia.
Yeah.
Well, nobody else has ever done that.
I love it. I like to see it, and I tend to agree with Jesse, man. West Virginia is one of those schools. When West Virginia is good, college football just benefits from it overall.
Where do you see West Virginia in 5 years from now?
National championship, baby.
Hell yeah.
I want to be realistic.
If Alabama or Oklahoma can't win it, we wouldn't mind seeing West Virginia.
I mean, is it possible they win one? Yeah, but it's not likely. I'm not that naive, but
I think y'all make an appearance in the Final Four.
I think in 5 years they'll have at least one Big 12 championship in the next 5 years. That's. I think that's reasonable.
I like it. Hell yeah.
Ramon with the dog.
I mean, man, again, somebody's got somebody like we've talked about the void of the Big 12. I mean, West Virginia could become the blue blood of that conference real quick.
If they're getting the financial backing that I'm hearing they're getting, there's no reason they shouldn't be, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Ramon's got a $1.99 donation. He says Lincoln Riley was young and unproven too. Right? I guess, sort of talking about Brent Arbuckle, but not every coaching hire is the same. I think that, Lincoln Riley might have had actually a few more years under his belt than Arbuckle, if I'm not mistaken.
It's very similar. That is one of the things that I have to admit doesn't give me a great feeling, which is there are a lot of similarities between Arbuckle and Tebow. They're both from West Texas. They both kind of have the same Texas drawl when they talk. Both were super young, offensive, come from the air raid, Mike Leach air raid. It's just like there's a lot of similarities, dude. And hopefully this one starts off the way that one started, but doesn't finish the way that one finished.
Talk about Mac Brown.
No, I'm talking about.
He's talking about Lincoln Riley versus Ben Arbuckle.
Correct. I'm talking about Arbuckle. Lincoln Riley came in and turned Oklahoma's offense around immediately. I mean, it was night and day as soon as he started. So, I think, especially with the transfer portal, I don't even know. I just don't even know what to expect them to have next year. I just don't know if they're going to have the enough talent on offense, considering how bad it got this year and how many kids they're losing in the portal. I just don't know if they're going to have the offensive talent to be able to turn it around like Lincoln Riley did. That's what worries me.
As long as y'all don't hire Arbuckle as your head coach, you should be all right.
Yeah, that's right. Listen,
I like Brent. I like Brent. I got to roll. I just want to say one more. I like Brent Venables as a guy, as a dude. I think he's a great guy. I want him to win. So because of him, I hope you guys do better next year. And he hangs around.
That. Yeah, he's always screwed my team out of the playoffs. So.
Yeah, that would be. I don't have time to get into that discussion tonight, JPC. But you and I got to do a show on that, brother.
I'll try to be nice. I'll try not.
We might be friends afterwards, and we might not. I don't know.
I'll try not to lose my mood. I'll take my blood pressure medicine before we start.
All right. Well, I got to roll, guys. I got a big trip to Pac-4 tomorrow, so you guys enjoy the rest of the show. JPC, thanks for having me on, man.
All right, brother. Thanks for being
on. Take it easy, Coos.
Yep. Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, man.
Happy New Year. We can say that again, can't we?
That's right. That's right. The political worm has turned.
There you go. There's a political shot now. I like that. Whoa.
I figured Coos was going to be happy about that. That Rich Rod hire had to, because I could tell he always, anytime it got brought up, he always seemed like he was in favor of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been like, I don't know. It'd be like Oklahoma being able to bring back Barry Switzer or some shit,
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be awesome. I wouldn't give a shit. I wouldn't care if Barry was 110 years old and they found out he was a Highlander and he couldn't die. I'd still bring him back.
Listen, let me tell you something. I love listening to Barry Switzer. Anytime I can listen to Barry Switzer talk, I don't care where it is. I want to hear it. I love that dude.
No,
and I think it was Rye Guy was saying that he's never heard. What was he say? I've never heard Lincoln have a Southern Texas draw. Brother, let me tell you something. You go get a side-by-side of Ben Arbuckle and Lincoln Riley, and you will hear what I'm talking about. It is absolutely West Texas draw. I can promise you.
No, Coney's Killer says there's no way a G5 school will compete with the Power 4 school. No way. Well, I don't know. It would not surprise me one day if someone like a Boise State made a run, especially the way it's set up now. Boise State, everybody talks about how easy Penn State has it by playing SMU and Boise State. But, if Boise State was going to draw somebody out of the Power 4, Penn State is probably a pretty good team to draw, right?
Absolutely.
For Boise State. And it's in the Fiesta Bowl where they've done a lot of the little crimes, right?
Let's not bring that up. I don't need to be talking about the Fiesta Bowl, man. I know what you're doing. It's not cool, man. It's not funny.
Y'all getting people married. See, that's how great Alabama and Oklahoma is, man.
Don't even remind me of that. That was so
everything. Even people's married. Look, he wouldn't even propose to his woman if y'all had not let them win that game.
Whatever.
So, look, man, y'all had a great effect on them people. You should be proud of your team.
Nope. Hell no.
Y'all already screwed us out of the playoffs, man.
Hell no. Hell no. So, man, what do you think about the NIL and the transfer portal? I saw Alabama's wide receiver room is getting hammered a little bit. You don't find a lot of nonsense going on there too?
Yeah, I think a lot of the wide receivers are leaving Alabama is because they're afraid Jalen Milroe's going to come back. And a lot of players don't want to play with him. There's a divide in that team. I talked about it earlier in the year about the Cancer 5. and Jalen Milroe's little entourage that, were supposedly, now this could be completely false, but a little entourage on the team was basically dictating that if Jalen Milroe would be benched, barring injury, that they would lay down. So, who knows what's going on behind the scenes, man. It's just funny to me how Alabama can go out there and beat the hell out of LSU and have a 28-point lead on Georgia and then turn around and lose to Vanderbilt. And then, let Oklahoma basically shut them out. Might as well say.
That was so weird.
Y'all give us those 3 points that we got, man. It was a turnover. We turned them into 3 points. And granted, we probably should have had 10. But, you'll never know if it would have ended up causing some kind of comeback. We'll just never know because the officiating so bad these days, they screw everybody. Not just Alabama and Oklahoma. Everybody's getting screwed by them. South Carolina will be in the playoffs today if they hadn't screwed them in the LSU game.
Well, dude, that's my – I mean, the conference champions getting automatic buys is ridiculous. They shouldn't do that at all. It should just be seeded in the top 4 get the seed or however many buys they're going to end up giving. But the top 4 getting buys is or just seeding the 4 conference champions as the top 4 seeds. Even if you go away from buys, even giving them the preferential draws to the championship by giving them the top 4 seeds is ridiculous. There's just not an equivalent to the SEC. The closest thing is the Big Ten, and we all know that that's not quite the same, at least not yet. So, having teams like Arizona State and Boise State getting buys is ridiculous. We got a little A team in the house.
That's right. I'll be right back. You control it for me.
Yeah, I can do that. So what does the chat think? Thunder OU says it's kind of weird how Bauer Sharp played crappy in the LSU game against OU, and he transferred to LSU. Well, he was going to school in Louisiana in Monroe before he came to Oklahoma. I don't know what to think about the Bauer Sharp thing, to be quite honest with you. The first of all, Oklahoma was not the only program that was going after Bauer Sharp. I'm pretty sure Alabama was going after Bauer Sharp. I'm pretty sure there were a few big programs that were going after Bauer Sharp. And he just never, so, and then all of the thoughts out of camp were how good he was doing. And then clearly he was not the phenom that they were talking about out of camp. Now, the way that they coached him and the way that they used him in the scheme was probably not correct, because I don't think he's ever going to be blocking defensive ends in the SEC. That's just kind of dumb. But, I wish him well.
Hey, brother, hate to cut this short tonight, but I got to go pick my wife up from work. And,
it's all good, man.
I just wanted to jump on here real quick because I thought this was an interesting topic. This was your idea, and I just wanted to touch on it real quick because I thought it was important to call out these NIL welfare students that just like sitting on their ass the whole season.
I agree. All right, brother. Y'all have a good one, man.
All right. Take care.
Peace.
All right. It's been fun. I just want to jump in here real quick and touch on a few things with you guys. I hadn't done a live stream in a while, so I figured it'd be great to get in here and talk to y'all about the NIL and how these players like just sit around and pretend like they got injuries and draw a paycheck. There's got to be something done about that real soon, because this just can't keep going the way it is. Just like Nick Saban said a couple of years ago, this is a very unsustainable model. The boosters are going to run out of money eventually, right? Also, we talked about the coaching carousel, Rich Rodriguez, Bill Belichick, Scott Frost, among others. And that's about all we touched on today. If you don't mind, after this thing goes to podcast, it'll go to podcast after I leave up out of here. Get on there, like, share, comment, and subscribe. to the channel. Share it out to all your friends. And if you want to be on the show, just hit me up on X at OCF Productions and DMs, and we'll talk off air. And if you want to be on the show, or if you got ideas for the show, just hit me up on there. And with that, I'm out of here. KMCA to all other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.